Colonel Leeway looked through his binoculars at what was left of the compound below him. Most of the surface buildings were gone. There was a massive crater where they had stood. He began to see people emerge from the rubble from the subterranean levels. Intel reported over 400 people were at the compound. Their scans now indicated everyone on the upper levels, and the surface had been vaporized. He was about to order his troops in for cleanup, but his binoculars began to flash. They drew his attention to a hill off to the east of the compound. The hill opened up, and two weapons platforms emerged. They rotated around and angled towards the sky. Then four silo doors opened up along the hillside. The platforms fired several shots. They weren't energy weapons, maybe some kind of railgun, Colonel Leeway thought. Then four missiles raced out of the silos, quickly followed by another barrage of fire, and then finally four more missiles. Colonel Leeway followed their trajectory upwards. They were firing at the Apostle of Redemption. He quickly dropped his binoculars and raised his communicator. Morrow, get the hell out of there. Move your ass, soldier. Captain Morrow stood on his bridge, looking out the window at the night side of Ladrana. There were a few clusters of faint lights on this planet, not like Hestia, where he was from, which had a population of over 10 billion, and the surface was covered with large megacities. Their night side was covered in bright dots of light. He found something peaceful about how quiet this planet seemed to be. It barely crossed his mind that he just wiped out one of those faint clusters of light. Without much warning, the Apostle of Redemption shook around him. Sirens began to go off. Several of his bridge crew began to bark out orders and relay information to him. Captain, something hit us, said one. The ship shook several more times, more severe than before. There were audible loud thuds that echoed throughout the ship's interior as each railgun round hit the hull. We are under fire, another voice reported. The ship violently shook under Morrow's feet. More than before, he stumbled a bit, reached for a railing that was nearby. The crew who were in chairs began fastening their seatbelts. We have hull breaches in the bow, another voice yelled out. Breaches on deck 3 to 10, forward. We are venting the atmosphere. Closing pressure doors from frame 28 to 32, another yelled out. Then the radio cracked, and Colonel Leeway's voice exploded. Morrow, get the hell out of there. Move your ass, soldier. Hard to port, full thrust, Morrow ordered as Colonel Leeway's message was coming in. He could feel the vibrations as the ship's engines came to full power, but his ship was not moving or turning. Helm, full power to engines, Morrow demanded. The young ensign at the helm pulled the lever for thrust control back and forward again, but there was no change. The ship was not moving. Sir, engines are unresponsive. Damn it, engineering, Morrow barked out. I need engines now. There were several more loud thuds against the hull, and the ship shook as violently as before. Morrow held on tight to the railing. More warnings from his crew about hull bridges. Sorry, sir, engines are down, a voice replied from engineering. How long? Morrow demanded. I don't know, the voice replied. Another alarm, a louder one, started to sound. It was the collision alarm. Captain, missiles inbound. There are 4. No. The voice paused for half a second. 8 missiles incoming. Impact in 5, 4. There was nothing that could be done. Their hull was compromised. Their defense shields did not hold up to the impacts of the railgun fire, and their engines were down, with no time to repair them. Morrow let go of the railing and closed his eyes. 3. Morrow thought of his wife and children at the park. They were having a picnic. His youngest was running around, his mother and 2 siblings. He felt a wave of coolness, of acceptance rush over him. He smiled. 2. He would be returning home shortly. Not the home he wanted to return to so soon, but home nonetheless. He was at peace with all the things that he had done in his life. He had no regrets. Well, maybe just one. 1. The whole universe went silent. Morrow opened his eyes and looked out the window for the last time. His only regret as his universe turned bright white and faded was that he would have liked to have had a farm here on Ladrana with his wife and 3 kids. Colonel Leeway watched the night sky as the missiles raced upwards at incredible speeds. He saw the bright but small flashes as the railgun's fire hit the Apostle of Redemption. 20 seconds later, there was a very large and bright flash. The sky lit up brighter than day as the ship blew apart. 3,000 lives snuffed out in a bright flash. Streaks filled the night sky as debris from the ship fell through the upper atmosphere and burnt up. It looked like a meteor shower. His attention was quickly drawn back to the weapons platforms. As it began to rotate and change its angle, it opened up fire, he was unsure at what. None of their other ships should have been in range. The railguns fired several more shots in rapid succession, moving fast in an east to west arc. More explosions in the night sky. They had targeted the stealth fighters. Colonel Leeway was caught up in the moment of disbelief. They shouldn't have been able to detect them. These were the latest generation of stealth technology One Earth had created before they left last year. He raised his communicator back up to his lips. Sagittarius 6, this is Angel 5. Take out those weapons platforms, he yelled. Acknowledge, Angel 5, Lieutenant Colonel Evans said. 4 missiles launched from the hillside, then 4 more, then finally 4 more after. They were heading straight up. Before he could communicate to the fleet to move, which should have already began doing random maneuvers to avoid being sitting ducks like the Apostle of Redemption had been, the railguns repositioned themselves from an almost vertical angle to horizontal. They began to spin and fire, and the ground erupted around Colonel Leeway. He ordered everyone to take cover. He entered back into his armored command post. He was excited. This is exactly what he wanted. Not since Hestia had any of the colonies really posed a threat. He was angry at the loss of the Apostle of Redemption and his 3,000 crew. He had known Captain Morrow for almost 400 years, and he was a godfather to Morrow's children back home. His armored vehicle let out several loud screams as it took hits. He almost thought he saw the bulkhead in front of him bulge slightly. My God, he muttered under his breath. The tank was made out of titanium alloy and ceramic armor plates. It also had electronic defenses to lessen the hits from physical rounds. It was built to withstand multiple hits from anything in One Earth's ground arsenal before buckling, but one hit from this cannon had caused significant damage. Another surprise from the Ladronans. He quickly regained his composure and walked towards the front of the vehicle. There were monitors to show what was going on outside. Report, he said. About 150 casualties, Major Thomas reported. Colonel Evans reported similar losses. The troops who managed to get back to their transports are reporting their transports are taking heavy fire. Good, he replied. Status of Armor 1 and 2. They reported a few ricochets, but no serious damage, another major reported. Good, Colonel Leeway replied. Sagittarius 6, this is Angel 5. What's your ETA? Over. There was a moment of silence, then the radio in the vehicle crackled and Evans came over. Armor 3 is moving. The radio exploded into static. Everyone winced in unison at the sound. Evans, Evans, Colonel Leeway barked into the radio. Are we being jammed? A captain replied, No, sir. It's clear out there. Sir, another captain spoke up. Explosions at Evans and Galanis' position north and northeast of us. The missiles, Colonel Leeway said. The ground rumbled under his feet. The armored vehicle rocked back and forth slightly as the blast wave reached them from the missile hits. How many? Confirm the strikes, Colonel Leeway said. He already knew the answer. If any of the missiles were heading towards him, they would have already hit. 12, sir, the captain said. Have they launched any more missiles? Colonel Leeway asked. But he also knew the answer. They were able to reload pretty quickly. Since they hadn't fired any more when he was watching, he believed them to be out. No, sir, the captain said. I'm getting reports from SAG Battalion, heavy casualties, and they lost armor 3, 4, and 5. 1 and 2 are intact, Major Thomas reported. Have the SAG Battalion regroup and fall back to the Bravo line and wait for further orders, Colonel Leeway said. Order Armor 1 to advance and take out that weapons platform. Bring it up on the main. The central monitor flickered and switched to 8 hover tanks advancing from the wooded area. They took up positions. Their main guns extended from them, angled up and in unison. They all fired. Bright pulses left their barrels and headed towards the weapons platforms on the hill. The weapons platforms turned their railguns towards the hover tanks and began firing in rapid succession. The hover tanks' rounds hit the weapons platform, doing significant damage, but the railguns were still firing. 3 of the 8 hover tanks were taking the brunt of the fire. Colonel Leeway was sure he'd lose them. Fire again, he ordered. This time, only 6 of the 8 tanks managed to fire. Colonel Leeway heard one of the tank commanders report that their main guns were damaged and unable to fire. A moment before the rounds from the hover tanks hit the weapons platform again, Colonel Leeway caught sight of at least 4 more missiles leaving the silos. He was sure he knew where they were headed. Armor 1, pull back immediately, he barked out. There was acknowledgments from the few of the tank commanders. At least half the tanks had been crippled by the railgun fire. Their hover jets were offline, and they were resting on the ground without their support leg. Get out of there, he barked at the tank crews. Their back hatches opened, but it was too late for them. The missile slammed into the area, lighting it up. The shockwave almost immediately hit Colonel Leeway's position. It knocked his staff out of their seats, and Colonel Leeway lost his footing. He slammed into the wall. They quickly recovered. The wooded area where Armor 1 had been, there wasn't anything left except fire and debris. Status, Major Thomas hollered out. Minor damage, one of the soldiers reported. Contact with Armor 1 has been lost. Platoons 87, 96, 115 are reporting power loss on their transports, another said. That was understandable, Colonel Leeway thought. They were the closest to Armor 1 in the missile strike. What is the status of the enemy's weapons platform? Colonel Leeway barked out. The main screen flicked again and showed the hilltop near the compound. There was a lot of smoke, and all the railguns seemed to be inactive. Zoom in on those silos, he barked. The image changed and zoomed in on the 4 missile silos on the hillside. 3 of the tubes were blocked by debris, and the 4th one looked like a missile was lodged in it. It looks to be neutralized, Major Thomas reported. We're playing dead, Colonel Leeway said. We have underestimated these Ladronans too many times already. Send the scouts. I want them to confirm that the weapons platform is inoperative.